Uncensored, no holds barred talk. 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. This is Global Reality Radio Network.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another live edition of the Global Reality right here on the Global Reality Radio Network. I'm your host, Josh Reeves. Thanks for being with us here. Tonight, another late night Moonbat edition of the broadcast. Going to be getting into what news we have to get into. I know everything is focused in on the oh God, on the bread and circuses of the staged occupations of Wall Street. So, and I don't know what's the deal with the one that's going on tomorrow. I've heard some about, is that some Jones specific thing or some teabagger thing or Patriot thing? What's going on with that? So the majority of the events were today. And then I heard there's another different one or a separate group doing a separate one tomorrow. And that's when Jonesy is going to be here in Dallas. For some separate thing. I don't know. I thought it was the occupation thing was it starts and then, it goes on indefinitely or whatever. I didn't know they were having, separate days of this or whatever. But hey, like I said, the bounty still stands. The bounty still stands. Anybody that wants to go down there and, ask Jonesy the hard questions about the CMP or John Birch Society or Jesuits or anything else, you can, or ask him, or better yet, ask him why Ron Paul was quoted as saying that I've got the story right here. Ron Paul calls Occupy Wall Street a legitimate effort. Seems a very interesting play here on Jonesy's part. But again, I think he has knowledge of something. He's trying to make sure he distances his operation from this operation as much as he can, but he's going to go down to Dallas at 6 o'clock after everybody's cleared out of the building already, of course. Funny, the timing of that. Yeah, wait till everybody's out of the building there, Jonesy. Why don't you? I knew something was wonky what's going on with my sound. Sorry about that. I think we're getting it back to normal here. Yeah. Master volume on the mixer got pulled all the way up, so it was coming in a little hot. I noticed that. Heard the playback earlier on the stream, and it sounds like it's coming in a little hot and a little static. There we go. Much better tone there. Sometimes stuff gets pushed around in here, like multitasking stuff. But I found that was a very interesting tie in there. That Jonesy says it's not a legitimate thing, which I don't think it is either. But he's got a different reason than I do, because his reason is to they're trying to do is they're trying to create the ultimate divide and conquer out of these issues so that they can have one group of alleged people who have, problems with what the government does, and then another group over here who has problems with it. So they're trying to make this thing where, okay, we have the people who are occupying Wall Street, but then, everybody's saying, well, how come nobody's saying anything about the Federal Reserve? That's where this idea sort of came from and originated was this idea of, the Federal Reserve being the issue, and that's sort of where the teabaggers and the Alex Jones types. That's sort of the slant they come from. So it just seemed very interesting to me that they were playing this out like this. But I think that's the reason they're going to do it. They want to create these two different issues and then pit the one side, sort of the Occupy the Feds, which is sort of the left. I mean, some of this stuff that I heard for their demands and the things that they want, that the Occupy, it sounds, I mean, I'm sorry, it's stuff, you're a damn fool if you think this stuff doesn't read just straight out of the Communist Manifesto. It does. All this stuff about, equal wages and all this stuff like that. It's pretty interesting, though. It's funny that there's all so many sides to this operation. It's kind of weird to wrap your mind around. You've got this group, the Occupy Wall Street group, and they're a controlled group. MoveOn.org, George Soros, et cetera, et cetera. And then you've got Alex Jones, who's obviously controlled by the Jesuits and the John Birch Society and the right wing and the priest class and the whole thing. Bronfman banking empire. You've got that, and so you've got people over here that believe everything Alex Jones say, and then you've got people over here who believe everything that, the Occupy Wall Street people say. And then Jones comes out and starts spreading disinfo about the operation of the Occupy the Fed people. Now, see, that's where it gets difficult. Because you've got one group that's an op, one person that's an op, and then the op is spreading disinfo about the other group that's also an op. That's how they create all this divide and conquer. Excuse me. That's how they create all this divide and conquer. That's how they create all of this derision and all this infighting and all this stuff. That's a classic textbook example of how they do it. Let me give you an example. Jonesy was reporting and saying, I think today or yesterday, that the Occupy Wall Street people want to have a $20 minimum wage and adopt a $20 minimum wage across the board for all businesses in the United States. And you hear that. It's so sensational. You're like, I mean, that doesn't really sound like that would be a good idea. But then you go and look at their, and I've got it right here, specific demand and action list for Washington, D.C. from OccupyWallStreet.org. And it doesn't say anything about that anywhere in here. Now, that doesn't make me defend this group and not say that they're not an op, because I believe they are. But what I'm saying is, think about that. It doesn't say that anywhere in here. Yet Jonesy is saying that it is. And yet, he's got Luke Rudkowski, I guess. I mean, he waited until, he waited to tell Luke and We Are Change, who, listen to every word he says and do absolutely everything that he says to the letter, because if they don't, then he threatens to shut them down and not support them and withdraw his support from them publicly for all chapters across the board if they don't do what he wants. Oh, how do I know that? Well, I know that, and Lee Iovino knows that, because there was a lot of people out there inside We Are Change groups who started posting my work, and I'm talking about stuff that wasn't even saying anything negative against Jones, on We Are Change groups websites, and they started getting a lot of views. And Alex Jones told Luke Rudkowski that if he did not make this chapter of We Are Change take down my videos and all my stuff and refuse to post anything associated with me, that he would withdraw his support for We Are Change nationwide, worldwide, altogether. And what did they do? Well, they sure as fuck aren't going to let their cash cow go just to get some contrary information out. Hell no. You don't think this is about info for these people, do you? No, of course not. No, it's making sure that their cash cow stays in place. And by staying in place with the cash cow, Jonesy thereby buys their servitude. But I guess when Luke Rudkowski and crew made the decision to go, Jones was still saying, "Folks, it's a gun thing," because that's what he was saying at first. Then he flipped the script, turned tail, and said, no, it's Soros-funded garbage and don't get involved in it. This is after Radowski, who his lapdog at his every beck and call, does what he says without reproach, goes and gets pepper sprayed and beat down. Well, is he... Let me ask you this. Does he make you stay in a tent when you go to his house, Luke? Or does he he won't let you, or does he make you stay in the servants' quarters? He has a living nanny who has a servants' quarters, on the side of the house and stuff. That's how much money Jones has. But he made Jason Burma sleep in a tent for like a month when he first moved to Austin, worked for Jones. God damn, man, what a sick motherfucker right there. That tells you everything you need to know about Jones. He's got this $1.5 million mansion in a gated community with a fucking servants' quarters and a live-in nanny, but he's got to make Burma stay in a tent in the backyard with the fucking guard dogs. That's brutal, man. That's that's fucking brutal. Like that's the whole operation here that they're running is they're getting, because a lot of people in the Truth and Patriot movement think that these Occupy the Wall Street thing are a good thing. So that's causing a division because you've got other people that normally agree with each other on issues who are now becoming divided over this issue of the Occupy Wall Street and whether it's a legitimate movement or whether it isn't. And so you've got people who are researchers who are looking at this and saying, no, this is not legit. This is straight up an operation. I said that before there was any facts about it. You could smell it. I'll tell you why. I saw Michael Moore on TV. This was a month or two ago. He was the first guy I saw talking about this, and I knew the moment I saw Michael Moore even talking about this shit that it was going to be staged. Michael Moore is a complete phony. The guy admittedly staged tons of shit in his movies, the stuff where he was going into, the big multinational corporations and and getting thrown out. He admitted that all of that was staged for the camera. They set it all up. But people bought it and people believed it. Bowling for Columbine, a bunch of that stuff in there was admittedly staged. So as soon as I heard that, I knew this stuff was not something that was happening from the grassroots level, but yet purporting to be, but yet coming from the intelligentsia and coming from the mainstream itself. But what we're seeing here is people that are seeing that and they don't want to ignore the research, but then this other part of them says, well, but I also want to get out there and do something. I don't just want to sit behind the computer and research this stuff all the time or talk about it on the radio. I want to get out there and be a part of it. I want to be out there and get a piece of this. And, I hate, and I know it's conflicting, and I hate to have to be the one to tell you that that's exactly what they want. They're trying to draw us out. They're trying to draw all of you out. And, that's why I'm glad that there are those people out there who will go out to these things. And I think it does serve a purpose. And I think that it's everybody has a role. And those people that do go out to the protests, I have nothing bad to say about them or you or any, if you guys go out and participate in this, I'm not going to, I think you should, but I think everybody also needs to know their role. I think there should be those people that go out and do that. And I think everybody should do it at some period of time. If you've never gone out and participated in a street event or a street action or something, I've done some, that's, that was what led me to doing the radio show, which led me to doing films and now, leading into more things. But that was the whole thing is after being in the streets for 2 or 3 years, 4 years, nonstop doing street actions all the time, I just felt like in a street action, you're reaching, a small amount of people in a small amount of time because there's not street actions every day and, they're only at certain times of the year. And I felt that there needed to be a way to be able to get information out very quickly on a day-to-day basis, as it's coming out and to basically document every single day the course of events and the things that transpire and also to document, my research and my awakening and all this stuff. But, I don't, I think everybody should go participate in these things at some point, but I think that we also need people that don't jump and run at the first call of revolution. The people who don't, lock and load when the first mortar round goes off. It takes discipline and it takes focus. Because again, that natural reaction is, I want to jump the fuck in this shit. Believe me, I mean, I know there's going to come a day when I'm going to have to heed my own words that I'm saying right now when it comes to that, because I know just the way I am. I'm one of those, believe me. I am definitely one of those people where I think the shit's going down, man. I'm fucking, let's go. Fuck, let's lock and fucking load. What do we get? Let's fucking go, And that is, we have to be so careful of that, because that's what they want. It's obvious that's what they want. They've been programming us with this stuff, ladies and gentlemen, through television shows and movies and everything for a very long time. And, I mean, God, Red Dawn, that's just one example. But we've had all these recent TV shows where, or in movies, people are, regulars, everyday citizens fighting for their lives against an outside threat. It's a common theme. It's been going on for a very long time. And that's exactly what they want. They want to draw us out. They want to get us to react emotionally so that we don't react rationally. And I think we all have to really understand the dynamic between emotional thinking and rational thinking, and how you are able to tell the two apart in times of high stress, in times of, for lack of a better word, the shit going down. And, I think we have a lot of people that talk about preparing for, getting storable foods and your bug out bunker and weapons and ammo and all this stuff together, and all that stuff's important. But I think very little focus is put on the mental preparations and preparing yourself to, how you're going to rule over your emotions and not let your emotions overrun your rational thinking. Because your rational thinking is going to keep you alive. Your emotional thinking is going to get you killed. And again, programming, belief systems, all this stuff, we always think we're supposed to be the emotional thing. It's that hero programming, You don't have to be a hero, just stay alive. Well, I just came right out of the gates with it tonight. Well, thanks for tuning in and being here with us tonight. My website where this broadcast originates from, www.theglobalreality.com. That's www.theglobalreality.com. And if you want to send an email to me at any time, I can read it on the air. You got a comment, you have a question, you have a topic, anything else like that, please send it in. globalrealityshow@gmail.com. That's globalrealityshow@gmail.com. I'll be happy to read that for you on the air. Chat room is also there at theglobalreality.com. We've got chatters in there hanging out tonight. So thanks to everybody for being in there with us this evening. Oh, and also thanks to the person who told me to check out the refurbished Macs. MJ, I think who it was that told me about that. Yeah, I appreciate that. I was looking at those. You're right. I've been trying to get up enough funds to be able to get one. I know, and we said had a listener said he might be able to help us too. But I was looking at some of the refurb stuff. Man, I'm a lot closer now. I think with you got to get a warranty and all that stuff and RAM upgrades. But yeah, I'm a lot closer. I think like $500 away or something now. So that's a lot better than being 1,800 away like I was before. So yeah, so thanks to that person who gave me the heads up on that. I've found some pretty good deals. Look at that. I just didn't even think about that this time. I've got some pretty good success in the past. I got this Asus box that Lee Rogers got for me for the network about a year or so ago. We got it refurbished. It was cheap, dirt cheap. And boy, I hadn't had to touch this thing since I fucking installed Sam Broadcaster on it and put it up on the web and put it on the stream. Boom, it's just been rock solid for me since I got it. So the reverb stuff, yeah, definitely does work. Definitely is good to go. Let's see what we have in the mailbag here tonight. Oh, I had a message, an email from Scott King. Yeah, Scott wanted to know about. He wanted to know about if I'd heard of. Well, let me see if I can find his email here. He says, "I'd like your take on reverse speech. I'm sure you've probably talked about this before, but I've never heard you comment on it. I'm talking about reverse speech in the context of like how David John Oates approaches it. He talks about it in the context of people speaking their subconscious thoughts through reverse speech. He then gives you examples of what people said via recordings. I'm not talking about how maybe Led Zeppelin or ELO might have used speech reverse deliberately in recordings, but if you want to talk about that too, that's fine. Thanks, Scott from Portland." Well, yeah, that's a different thing. I know what you're talking about, Scott. I have talked about this. It's been a long, long time since I talked about it. I remember when I first started on air, I think 2007, 2008, somewhere in there. Yeah, a lot of people that were around at that time, I guess in the chat room at that time, were talking about this stuff and were sending me some of these videos, and I did look at them and stuff. You know, man, I got to tell you, it's kind of like the well, it's kind of similar to the stuff that, you know, people have said about bands and the backwards masking and all that stuff. It's just some of that stuff I just don't hear it, man. Some of them I do. I mean, what was the one from Sgt. Pepper? You know, because it had those little cutout mustaches in there. And it's the Sgt. Pepper reprise at the end of side B, where it's like, Sgt. Pepper's lonely, Sgt. Pepper's lonely. And then, like, you play it backwards, and it's like, it was a fake mustache. It was a fake mustache. It was a fake mustache. I mean, you can hear that clearly. Clearly, that's what it's saying. And, of course, a fake mustache there. And there's video of Paul around that time where, you know, he's got this phony-looking mustache on. Doesn't even look like him. But, yeah, I know what you're talking about as far as being able to... allegedly, there are people that claim that you can reverse, like, they've made videos of, like, Bush and Obama and stuff like that. And that when you reverse their speech, you can actually hear them saying things that, you know, like, you know, I want to eat your soul and take you to fucking Hades for eternity or some shit like that, you know. And, you know, I got to be honest with you, Scott, I just, the stuff just seems real shaky to me. I mean, it just seems like it's open for so many interpretations. Like, they'll say it means, you'll hear them say it, and then they'll put on the screen or whatever that they're saying this particular sentence. But to me, I don't hear that. I hear something totally different than that. So, I don't know. Some of those things, I'd like to see, I think the jury's still out on that for me. I'd like to see more data. I'd like to see more concrete stuff, you know, because to me, it just seems like the same thing with some of the backwards masking stuff. It just seems like they're reaching sometimes with their interpretations of what they're saying. You know, it's not that I don't believe it's possible. It's not that I don't believe it, you know, may be a real thing. It's just, for me, I just don't hear it. I've got pretty good ears. They're tuned for music and producing and stuff like that. And it just seems like they're reaching sometimes with this stuff. So, you know, that's kind of my take on that, Scott. I hope it helps. Let's see what we have in the mail here. It's from Serge. Serge says, Josh, listening to your October 5th show, some of your comments reminded me of a Red Eye show that aired this week with John Lash. Lash spoke of transhumanism and parasitic creatures known as the Archons. The Archons, these are new to me. Have you heard of these Archeons or Archons or Archeons or Archons? Well, when you commented on telephones and chicks being on them until time immemorial, can you play George Thorogood's You Talk Too Much? That song is a hoot. I'd have to download it. I don't know if I can or not, but Yeah, I have heard of these Archeon things. To me, if I understand it correctly, there's some there. If I understand correctly, they're similar to what John D talked about, what Cesarians talked about, the macrobes, the oversouls. That's about all I know. I don't know much more than that, but yeah, I believe that's what they are. They're some sort of parasitic creature, I like an etherical, energy type creature. I don't really know much more than that, but I'll just try and do some digging into it and see what I come up for you, Serge, and I'll talk about it here on the show. Well, I think that's pretty much all the email we have tonight. I guess we didn't have a whole lot. Not a whole lot of material today. I kind of want to start the show again later tonight. Not a lot of stuff. Let's just slide over into the news then now. But if you've got an email and you want to get tonight, globalrealityshow@gmail.com, go ahead and send it over to me. All this stuff going on. World going to hell in a handbasket. All this protest, all these wars, genocide, nuclear reactors. I mean, death. It's good to know the fine people down in Florida. And you know who you are down there in Florida. We got a bunch of listeners in Florida. I am glad to know that the state of Florida has their fucking priorities straight. Florida lawmaker hopes to repeal dwarf tossing prohibition. Boy, this is the pinnacle of modern human existence right here. I mean, this is a clear-cut sign that America needs to remain the forerunner of the world power structure. My goodness. Rome's burning. These motherfuckers are down here arguing over whether or not we should be able to toss midgets or not. Are you serious, right? You're not fucking with me here? This is real. This is a real fucking article. A Florida lawmaker has made headlines around the nation for his proposal to repeal a job-destroying regulation in his state, namely the 1989 ban on dwarf tossing. Well, I tell you what, I take the standpoint on this dwarf tossing the same way I take the standpoint on gay marriage. You just don't do it near me, don't do it near my family, don't do it near my kids. Keep it away from me, keep it behind the confines of your own home. And I'm just fine with that dwarf tossing, same as I'm just fine with the gays. And if those dwarfs want to be tossed, like everybody else, and by golly gracious goodness, we ought to let them be tossed. It's their right as Americans to be tossed.
Sucks its cock.
Yeah, I agree. Can we get one more of those, please?
Sucks its cock.
Thank you. A Florida lawmaker has made headlines around the nation. Republican State Representative Rich Workman introduced HB 4063 on Monday. The legislation would repeal provisions against the exploitation of persons with dwarfism. My goodness gracious, I am so fucking glad that the people in the state of Florida have their shit together. I'm so glad you guys are looking out for the welfare and the well-being of the citizens, because, my God, I don't know about you, but I don't want to live in a state. No, I don't want to live in a country. No, I don't want to live in a world, a universe even, where dwarf tossing isn't allowed. In fact, we're going to have to take a commercial break so I can go find me a dwarf to toss right now. I don't give a fuck if it's 2 a.m. I know there's a dwarf around here somewhere. Which reminds me, you guys know that a couple of weeks ago, the Demi guys, we were on that local Deep Ellum internet radio show thing, video thing, and last year, I guess it was back in 2010, and we hadn't been a band very long. Demi gods, we hadn't been together very long. My sister Jamie was sick, and she couldn't make the gig, so it was already booked. So Delphi and I were like, all right, well, fuck it. We'll go play your songs. We'll go do, we'll go be a 2-piece. And so we did. And we went to Fort Worth, and it was in this shitty little fucking, like, they called it a sports bar, but it was this shitty little place, dude. I mean, this place, it was looked like a fucking diver dive. I'm sorry, a biker dive, a diver bike, biker dive. Yeah, a biker dive. But it was just scummy, dude. I was like, oh, fuck, man. Are we really going to do this? So Delphi and I like walk in this place to like case this joint out, right? We walk in, and the first fucking thing we see when we walk in is a midget that looks exactly like Shirley Manson from Garbage. And I like looked around, looked over, saw the midget, and was like, cool, let's do this. I can get down with this. There's a midget that looks like Shirley Manson here. This can't be all too bad. Let's play. Come on, let's go. And we did, and it was great. But and then we saw that apparently that, and this was like a year and a half ago. I hadn't really thought of it since then. We kind of joke about it sometimes, but then we found out that the midget that looks like Shirley Manson from Garbage is actually in a band with her boyfriend, and they do like industrial goth shit, and they're actually pretty fucking badass. How weird is that? That's just fucking, oh man. That is just bizarre. But yes, I would like to, man, if I had an opportunity to toss a midget that looked like Shirley Manson, I would take it. Let's see what we have, what else we have besides dwarfs here in the in the news tonight. The wonder stuff that could change the world, graphene, is so strong a sheet of it as thin as cling film could support an elephant. They're now starting to roll out the next generation of polymers and materials and game-changing technology stuff. And this ties right into, exteriors and bodies and support stuff for transhumanism. No question. The stuff is tougher than diamond, but it stretches like rubber. It is virtually invisible, conducts electricity and heat better than any copper wire, and weighs next to nothing. Meet graphene, an astonishing new material which could revolutionize almost every part of our lives. Some researchers claim it's the most important substance to be created since the first synthetic plastic more than 100 years ago. If it leads up to its promise, it could lead to mobile phones that you roll up and put behind your ear, high-definition televisions as thin as wallpaper, and bendy electronic newspapers that readers could fold away into a tiny square. It could transform medicine and replace silicon as the raw material used to make computer chips. So, wow. Graphene. Pretty interesting stuff there. Holy shit, I looked down and Guyman's talking about midget bars in New Orleans. They got a midget bar in New Orleans? That's rad. A little door and everything. That's fucking dope. Oh, man. It's New Orleans, I mean, of course. Another satellite to crash land soon. You guys hear about this? The odds of it hitting someone are even higher this time. Well, that's just great. Always good news from the Never a Straight Answer agency over there at NASA. The world was gripped by NASA's UARS satellite that fell back to Earth last Saturday. Now there's been another. There's another that's plummeting back from orbit. In late October or early November, a Germany astronomy satellite called Rosat will plunge uncontrolled back to Earth. While slightly smaller than UARS, the German satellite is expected to have more pieces survive re-entry. The German Space Agency admitted that it has a 1 in 2,000 chance of hitting someone, higher than the 1 in 3,200 odds NASA gave UARS. The German Rosat satellite was launched in 1990, died in 1998, and weighs 2.5 tons. The German Space Agency estimates that 30 pieces weighing less than 2 tons will survive re-entry. Debris may include sharp mirror shards. So falling glass is going to come down. Hot, flaming glass is going to fall from space. That's just good stuff. Wow. Thanks for the heads up. They don't seem to be too concerned about it, which tells me we probably should be concerned. You know, they were telling us, oh, this could hit somebody, this could fall on somebody. You're like, if there was really a chance it was going to hit somebody or fall on somebody, they sure as fuck wouldn't tell us. That's just the way that goes. Lots of crazy science and technology news. There's just more and more of this stuff coming out. And you know, after reading the Lost Book of Enki and after going through all these different Sumerian tablets and actually looking at, you know, as I mentioned last week, the scholarly interpretations of, you know, these ancient Sumerian texts and stuff, and finding that they're they're very, very similar. Very few discrepancies between the, you know, quote unquote official scholarly interpretations and, say, Zechariah Sitchin or anybody else. But it's funny how, since we've read all that, I just see this stuff everywhere. References of this stuff, you know, references to the, you know, creation and all these things. Like this one, for instance, ocean-like ice in space scan shows that Earth's life-giving oceans might have ridden to Earth in a comet's tail. Now, that to me, it sounds, you know, very similar to this stuff, you know, that we heard about in the Sumerian text in you know, the waters above the firmament. Tiamat being destroyed and the pieces blasting out and creating the asteroid belt and all the water coming crashing to Earth. You know, or could it have been that, what's interesting? I don't know if anybody else but me thinks this, but I'm going to drop a picture of this comet into the chat room. And I don't know about you, but look at this thing. That looks like a fucking ship to me. And there's been in some of these, you know, in some of these movies, I think even like Star Wars and some of the different movies, we've seen ships that look like that. I know Robotech, the anime series. Brilliant, bright light coming from the front, from the back, from the bottom. It looks like engines. That looks like a ship. And it says it's 1.25 miles long. That's just unbelievable that's a comet. It's a crazy fucking picture. That just looks like a ship to me, man. I'm sorry. I mean, I usually don't say those kind of things, you know. Everybody's always trying to make everything out to be, you know, related to aliens or something. But that just struck me as odd. I've never seen a picture quite like that. I mean, it just looks like a ship. I heard a lot of depictions of, you know, ships have looked like, and it kind of looks like a flying version of that thing that the Jawas rode around in. Today, most of Earth's surface is covered in water, but scientists believe Earth's oceans didn't form until around 8 million years after the planet itself. Well, that's supported by ancient texts. That's crazy. The discovery of ocean-like water on a comet by the hi-fi instrument on the Herschel Space Observatory hints that Earth's oceans might have arrived in the form of comet ice. If so, the impacts, and we'd have needed quite a few, would have formed an important stage in the evolution of life on Earth. Life would not exist on Earth without liquid water, and so the question of how and when the oceans got here is a fundamental one, said University of Massachusetts astronomy professor Ted Berggren. It's a big puzzle, and these new findings are an important piece. Previous scans of comets led astronomers to believe that the very icy bodies could not have brought water to Earth, or at least were only responsible for a very small fraction of it. Hi-Fi, the heterodyne instrument for the infrared on the Herschel Space Observatory, detected a familiar ocean-like composition to the water on the comet Hartley 2, a comet that had been visited at an ocean distance of 700 kilometers by NASA's Deep Space Impact spacecraft. By ocean-like, of course, the astronomers don't mean that it is green and swimming with fish. Hartley 2 is a frozen solid in the cold of deep space. The comet is composed of chunks of water ice and frozen carbon dioxide. Using measurements from the infrared telescope, the researchers found that the ice on a comet called Hartley 2 has similar chemical compositions to our oceans, judging by the mix of the normal hydrogen atoms and deuterium atoms, one of the chemical isotopes found in heavy water. It is the first time ocean-like water has been detected in a comet, and we're all surprised. Hi-Fi has previously scanned 6 other comets, but none had Earth-like water. The astronomers hypothesized that Hartley 2 formed nearer Earth than the other 6 in our solar system's Kuiper Belt, and the different asteroids formed 5,000 times further away in the distant Oort cloud. The scans of other comets led astronomers to speculate that comets could not have been the source of Earth's water. So that's interesting stuff there as well. Lots of these science-related stuff, you know, everybody's obsessed with the sun right now and the moon. Everybody's obsessed with all these new planets they're allegedly finding. I mean, it just seems that they're building a backstory. Well, we've communicated with these aliens because of this, blah, blah, blah. This new program we've been doing. Europe plots mission to the sun. That's interesting. Europe's collective space agency is planning an ambitious space mission that would send a satellite nearly 3/4 of the way to the sun. The solar orbiter, which would launch in 2017, would operate just 25 million miles from the sun, far closer than any spacecraft ever sent from Earth. The mission was green-lighted by the European Space Agency member states on Tuesday, according to the BBC. I'm really looking forward to this solar orbiter, which will become the reference for solar physics in the years to come. NASA will assist in the mission, providing instruments for the probe and the rocket that will propel it towards our star, which is about 93 million miles away from Earth. Lots of interest in stuff there. Here's another one. How our universe is connected. The huge cosmic filaments that link the Milky Way with other galaxies. Astronomers have exposed new proof that enhances the belief of interconnection between the planets and galaxies in the solar system. Dr. Stephen Keller of the Research School of Astronomy and Astrophysics at the Australian National University revealed the intricate details of the findings that connect the entire universe. He said, by examining the positions of ancient groupings of stars called globular clusters, we found that the clusters form a narrow plane around the Milky Way rather than being scattered across the sky. Furthermore, the Milky Way's entourage of small satellites are seen to inhabit the same plane. What we have discovered is evidence for the cosmic thread that connects us to the vast expanse of the universe. Oh my God, science has finally proven that everything and anything in our material reality is connected and interconnected to each other. Jesus Christ, stop the presses. Oh, we've never known that before. Ancient people sure as fuck didn't know that thousands of years ago. My God. And still they're too afraid to say it. I mean, the headline of this article should be, scientific proof that everything in the known universe is interconnected together. We are all one, truly. Instead, it's how our universe is connected. The huge cosmic filaments that link the Milky Way with other galaxies. Boy, that sounds boring as shit to me. I mean, which one is going to get more of a reaction out of people? Hey, honey, I read the paper, and the paper said that there's huge filaments that link our Milky Way with other galaxies out there. That's great, honey. Turn on fucking Desperate Housewives, please. Or, Jesus Christ, there's scientific proof we're all connected to everything. If we're all interconnected and we're all one and we're all the same, then why the fuck are we killing each other? I don't know. This doesn't make sense. This has got to stop right now. Game over. But no, instead we give this. I mean, that's what they're saying here. We have discovered what we have discovered. This is a direct quote. What we have discovered is evidence for the cosmic thread that connects us to the vast expanse of the universe. Everything is connected. Furthermore, the Milky Way's entourage of small satellites are seen to inhabit the same plane. The filament of star clusters and small galaxies around the Milky Way is like the umbilical cord that fed our galaxy during its youth. Dr. Keller's study enforces the view that the structure of the cosmos is made up of long filaments of galaxies and vast voids that span millions of light years. Globular clusters are systems of hundreds of thousands of ancient stars tightly packed at a ball. In our picture, most of these star clusters are the central cores of small galaxies that have been drawn along the filament by gravity. And I'll drop that picture so you can see this interconnectedness and see this filament. I mean, it's an amazing picture. You can see It's all interconnected. That's a microcosm. Yes, everything is interconnected. Everything connects together. There is no separation. But it's very difficult to rule over people who know that to be 100% true without having to be told or taught it. And sadly, that's the point we've reached. Lots of stuff here tonight. Let's see what else we have. Well, more of this in the news. Department of Pre-Crime, Santa Cruz Police test software that predicts where and when criminals will strike. I mean, I've covered stories like this one 100 times here since I've been on air. I don't know how many more times I've got to say Phil K. Dick was right. He's rolling over in his grave. He knew all this shit was coming. And yeah, it's here now. Pre-crime is here. Department of Pre-Crime, Santa Cruz Police. Here's another one that kind of ties in what we were talking about earlier with that comet thing. And, you know, after reading all these Sumerian texts and tablets, I mean, again, you just start to see little things in these news stories now that you really didn't see before. Here's another example of that. A peek into the chemical soup of life. Last universal common ancestor was more sophisticated than we thought, say biologists. Oh, really? So our last common ancestor that humans are derived from was actually way more sophisticated than we thought. Oh, well, yeah. Could have told you that, buddy. 5,000-year-old clay tablets could have told you that. The chemical soup out of which all life eventually evolved could have been more complex than was first thought, according to a new study. The last universal common ancestor, Luca, is the name given to a crude organism that is now traceable in all domains of life: plants, animals, fungi, algae, etc. Very little is actually known about this great-grandfather of evolution, and some scientists still debate whether it was even a cell. But a new study has suggested that Luca was a more sophisticated organism than presumed, with a complex structure that makes it identifiable as a cell. The research, published in a journal, Biology Direct, builds on several years of study of a previously overlooked feature of microbial cells. This particular area has a high concentration of polyphosphate, a type of energy currency in cells. The new research argues that this polyphosphate storage site actually represents the first known universal organelle. An organelle is a specialized unit in each cell that carries out a specific function, just as an organ does for the human body. Organelles were not thought to be common in the three branches of the tree of life: bacteria, archaea, and eukaryote. How do you say that word? Eukaryotes? That is a weird, I don't think I've ever heard that word. Eukaryotes? Bacteria, archaea, and eukaryotes. Eukayyotes. Eukaryotes. Okay, eukaryotes. That's a terrible word. And common scientific consent said they were never found in bacteria. However, in 2003 study, the same team from the University of Illinois showed that the polyphosphate storage structure in bacteria was physically, chemically, and functionally the same as an organelle called an acetylcalcium, which is found in many single-cell eukaryotes. Oh, I hate that word. So what's the point here? This is just a bunch of gibberish. Point is that we came from something more sophisticated than we thought. What more do you need to know, right? Florida county nixes fluoride in water after heated debate. A Florida county has voted to stop adding fluoride to its drinking water after a polarizing debate that included warnings of reduced intelligence, cancer, Soviet-style tactics, and forced medicating by the government. The Pinellas County Commission voted 4-3 to halt fluoridation to about 700,000 residents of the county. The St. Petersburg Times reports. The vote came despite pleas from dentists and health officials who said fluoride reduces dental illness. Is that what they're calling it now? Dental illness? So it rhymes with mental illness. Oh, you're going to get dental illness. What? Since when have they ever called it dental illness? Oh, make sure you get that fluoride in you, son. You're going to get that dental illness. What the fuck? If you don't believe in dental illness, you might have mental illness. What in the Christ Green Acres is this shit? Dental illness. Never heard it referred to as that. But, hey, you know, they got the job done. They got the fluoride out. It's all that matters. You know, the whole deal with 2012 that gets overlooked a lot oftentimes is something the Freemasons have known for thousands of years, and that is this galactic alignment. And during galactic alignment, it said that the Milky Way, when looked at flat from, you know, the other side of the universe or the other side of the galaxy, looks like the snake. It's the serpent. And that always struck me as, you know, very interesting, the serpent symbology and how we see that with the elite. And we see that in, you know, ancient artifacts and temples and, you know, Sumerians, Egyptians, Mesoamericans, doesn't matter. And then always kind of, you know, stay with me the whole thing about how the Milky Way looks that way during galactic alignment. But the first scan of space between the stars, the Milky Way looks like a writhing nest of vipers. And it's just it's totally insane. It's basically gas where the magnetic field is dense. But that's what the Milky Way is made up of. But it does. It looks like a big thing of fucking snakes. It's very spooky looking, especially with all the serpent symbology with, you know, extraterrestrials, all this stuff. The Greeks and Romans looked at the skies and saw animals and gods, but the first picture of the gas between the stars in our own galaxy looks more like a pit of writhing snakes. To most people, the idea that space could be filled with thin, churning gas is distinctly odd, but astronomers have been trying to photograph the turbulent gas for 30 years. This is the first time anyone has been able to make a picture of this, said Professor Brian Gasliner of the University of Sydney in Australia. The turbulence makes the universe magnetic, helps stars form, and spreads the heat from supernova explosions throughout the galaxy, said the study. I just find it very coincidental. I think there's definitely something to that. You know, I mean, we have very little knowledge about what that is. I mean, those could be entities or, you know, spiritual energy. We just have no idea. We think we know everything, but we know very little. I've just got the space pictures for you guys tonight, man. I don't know what's going on with this. I don't know what's up with these articles. There's a lot of this. Somebody was saying that one of the pictures in there I put had said copyright and new on it at the bottom. Oh, yeah, the one that was the interconnected universe. Yeah, well, look at this one. This is the picture from my next article here. My next article is supernova that lit up the skies for a whole month 1,000 years ago, still puzzling astronomers. And, I mean, this thing looks, I don't know what to think about this, but it's funny to me. At the bottom of it, it says the photographer or the person credited with the picture, it says David Aguilar, CIA, NASA. So I guess they're just openly admitting now that, you know, the CIA is doing their artwork or the CIA is providing them with the picture for the media outlets now. I mean, that's a hell of an admission. First time I've seen them admit to that. Did that picture drop in the chat room or did it fart? I hate when that happens. God, this computer's fucking so slow now. On its last leg. Takes 30 minutes to refresh a page. 1,000 years ago, a brilliant beacon of light blazed in the sky, shining brightly enough to be seen even in the daytime for almost a month. Native American and Chinese observers recorded the eye-catching event. What they were witnessing was an exploding star which left behind a gaseous remnant known as the Crab Nebula. Ran the same pick as before, huh? Bastards. There we go. There's the fixed one. The same object that skygazers in 1054 CE continues to fascinate astronomers today by pumping out radiation at higher energies than anyone expected. Researchers have detected pulses of gamma rays with energies exceeding 100 billion electron volts. This thing's alive. That's why. It's not some dead star supernova. Whatever this thing is very much alive. Gamma rays with energies exceeding 100 billion electron volts, 1 million times more energetic than medical X-rays, and 100 billion times more than visible light. If you asked theorists a year ago whether we would see gamma ray pulses this energetic, almost all of them would have said no. Martin Schroedler of the Harvard-Smithsonian Center for Astrophysics, the CFA, not the CIA, okay. The Center for Astrophysics, CFA, I saw that wrong, my bad. Yeah, I thought that was a bit odd. It was like, that'd be a first time I've ever seen them just say, give credit to the CIA for some picture. That's odd. Okay. The Center for Astrophysics. All right. CFA. I stand corrected. There's just no theory that can account for what we found. The gamma rays come from an extreme object at the Crab Nebula's center known as a pulsar. A pulsar is a spinning neutron star, the collapsed core of a massive star. Although only a few miles across, a neutron star is so dense that it weighs more than the sun. Rotating about 30 times a second, the Crab pulsar generates beams of radiation from its spinning magnetic field. The beams sweep around like a lighthouse beacon because they're not aligned with the star's rotation axis. So, although beams are steady, they're directed on Earth as rapid pulses of radiation. The discovery was reported in an international team of scientists in a paper in October 7th issue of Science. Corresponding author Nepomuk Ate, a postdoctoral researcher at the University of California, Santa Cruz, said that some researchers had told him that he was crazy to even look for pulsar emission in this energy realm. It turns out being persistent and stubborn helps. These results are put new constraints on the mechanism for how the gamma ray emission is generated. I don't think people want to talk about this for a very long time because there's bombarding us with particles and radiation. I mean, where is this Crab Nebula located? Is it located anywhere near Cygnus? Because, I mean, they've found, watch that film, The Cygnus Mystery, they talk about these particles being found deep in the earth. And these particles that came from that area seem to have triggered some sort of massive evolution in human physiology and thinking and everything else. Does seem like there's something there maybe trying to keep a lid on. Yeah, that's definitely one of the craziest space pics I've ever seen too, dude. For sure. Well, we're going to take a break. That's all the news we're going to do for today. We're going to take a break, come back. We're going to do tablet number 5 for you here tonight. Tablet number 5 of the Emerald Tablets of Thoth. So we hope you'll stick around and hang out with us here tonight. Hey, where'd that... All right, back here with you on the Global Reality. I'm your host, Josh Reeves. Thanks for being with us here tonight. Staying up late with us again for another late night Moonbat edition of the broadcast. The website where this broadcast originates from, if you're listening on a YouTube video or archived somewhere else, theglobalreality.com. It's www.theglobalreality.com. And we're currently taking, we're accepting people that want to come on and be sponsors for the network and get some advertising going here. If you want to have a banner ad put up on your on our page, drive some traffic into your business or your product or your whatever it may be, and please send us a message for that. And if you've got anything you want to advertise there, we can also work out a bigger package deal. If you want to spend more, we can talk about doing, a live read. I can do a live read here during the show for you a couple times a show, and do about a 1 minute live read for you, as well as a banner ad, whatever you want to do. Send that there, because we don't have any outside support, and we do it from our listenership only. But it's we need to try and balance that out a little bit. So we're going to see what we can do as far as that goes. GlobalRealityShow@gmail.com is my email address if you want to send in stuff concerning advertising. Send that over there to me there. But please support our work. We have the Chipping banner there for the month for the bills, and that goes to help our operating costs and the cost of everything it entails to do this. And then we have the donate button there for larger amounts. If you want to donate larger amounts for anything else, you can do that there as well. Please support our work so we can stay afloat, stay alive. We do that with the support of our listeners, you out there, the listening audience that keeps us going. And please donate today if you can. Thank you so much. Tablet 5, the Dweller of Unal. The Emerald Tablets of Thoth. Oft I dreamed of buried Atlantis, lost in the ages that have passed into night. Aeon on aeon, thou existed in beauty, a light shining through the darkness of night. Mighty in power, ruling the earth born, Lord of the earth in Atlantis day. King of the nations, master of wisdom, light through Suntal, keeper on the way, dwelt in his temple, the master of Unal, light of the earth in Atlantis' day. Master he from a cycle beyond us, living in bodies as one among men. That sounds like Ra in the movie Stargate. Roland Emmerich film. Kurt Russell, James Spader, remember that? That sounds exactly like the Ra character in that. He was, they were in this fucking pyramid spaceship that was they were aliens. They were in this spaceship that was a pyramid, and he incarnated in this kid and took over his body and then started setting himself up as a god. It's very interesting. Lots of little symbology and little things that relate to the Anunnaki and stuff in that movie. If you haven't seen it or watched it in a while, definitely do yourself a favor. You can get it dirt cheap, dude. I saw it on Blu-ray the other day at I think Target, where it was like $5 for Blu-ray of that movie. That's fucking dirt cheap. But yeah, definitely watch that if you had. It's definitely one to watch. But that's what he's talking about here. He from a cycle beyond us, living in bodies as one among men. That's very interesting. He's just incarnating in bodies wherever he wants to, and then he's setting up shop and setting himself up as the Messiah and the Lord and all this other stuff. That's why we have some similarities between, Quetzalcoatl and Viracocha and Enki and Onaz and all these different deities around the world. That's what it's, this energy incarnating in different bodies for a short period of time, but being immortal and being able to choose, being conscious of the choice of where and how you're incarnating. That's another one of the main secrets of the secret societies, the Freemasons, Rosicrucians, etc. That's why the rose on the Rose Cross of the Rosicrucians, the rose is the soul, and the cross is the body. And that's what it represents, is the soul being crucified upon the body. That's what the Rosy Cross is. And that's what the Freemasons teach. It's immortality through being able to be consciously aware of when, where, how you incarnate, and very conscious of who you are, meaning that, once you develop, you find that in a lot of people. Once you develop and you come out of your childhood development, you're, that ego and that personality is already formed as if it was formed before birth. Not as earthborn, he from beyond us, son of a cycle, advanced beyond men. Know ye, O man, that Horlet, the master, was never one with the children of men. Far in the past time when Atlantis first grew as a power, appeared there one with the key of wisdom, showing the way of light to all. Showed he to all men the path of attainment, way of the light that flows among men. Mastering darkness, leading the man's soul upward to the heights that were one with the light. Divided the kingdoms he into sections. Well, that's what it talked about in the Lost Book of Enki, wasn't it? They divided it in sections and gave different ones the Anunnaki dominion over those domains of the earth. 10 were they, ruled by the children of men. Again, same things we saw in the Sumerian tablets. It's mind-blowing. Upon another built he a temple, built but not by the children of men. Out of the ether called he its substance, molded and formed by the power of Yotlon, into the forms he built with his mind. So he's talking about manifesting, built this temple that he manifested out of the ether and built and constructed with his mind. That would shut up a lot of these. They wouldn't even have an Ancient Aliens series if they knew that, would they? I mean, every goddamn episode of Ancient Aliens, I watch that show for the comedy factor mostly, but just to see what they're talking about. But on and on and on they go on that fucking show about, David Hatcher Childers, what in the hell built these temples? And they go on and on and on. And right here, and they talk about this stuff, and I'm glad that they're talking about it, and it's on TV and blah, 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 blah. But again, it's just like everything else that's disinfo or misinfo. It's not what they talk about, it's what they don't talk about. And these guys never seem to bring into the conversation the idea of the power of the spoken word. This goes all the way back to the oldest forms of Kabbalism. Manly P. Hall discusses this in The Secret Teachings of All Ages, the Kabbalistic creation of mankind, the Kabbalistic origins of humanity, the Kabbalistic origins of the universe, and how these words and you have frequencies when you use them, and when you learn these different chants and these incantations and these different spells, essentially, you can learn how to shape and form the ether and make material matter manifest before your very eyes and create things like temples and other things like that. And yet Ancient Aliens goes on and on and on every week. How did they build these temples? It had to be aliens. Well, great, it had to be aliens, but how were they doing it? Never any talk about frequency. That's what I believe all this stuff. How they built the pyramids, all these temples, it's all frequency. They didn't use all these, Jew slaves and all this shit to build the pyramids. Give me a fucking break. They use ancient magic and ancient spells that manipulate frequencies, manipulate the ether and the material matter, and a high-level magi, most likely a priest who's been trained by one of the gods themselves, and then that trickles down and passed down, and then that's how we had secret societies form. But that's no doubt the explanation for what science and even conspiracy theorists, haven't seemed to be able to wrap their minds around yet. That's, that to me is the justification of why we're reading this stuff, why I will continue to read this stuff. It's unbelievable. Let me read it one more time. Out of the ether called he its substance. He built a temple not by the children of men. He molded and formed the power of Ytolon. I don't even know what that means. I got to look that up. Ytolan. What is that? Let's find out. Well, that's interesting. The power of Ytolon, so it's pronounced Ytolon, was revealed to me during a spiritual hypnotherapy regression during which I experienced life in Atlantis. Ytolon refers to a sacred energy that allows thoughts to materialize. The fifth emerald tablet. This creative power materializes thoughts for beautiful, elegant living and supplies without depleting the environment. This is the way Atlantis was built. Oh, okay. In 2005, I started feeling dizzy for short spells. I'm reading this off just some website, you guys. The frequency of these lightheaded periods increased so much that I went to see a medical doctor, fearing that I would faint while driving. To my astonishment, I left the doctor's consultation room in a wheelchair, emergency assessment by a cardiologist, and rushed to the hospital where a stent was placed into my heart. Not anticipating a heart problem or emergency heart surgery, and almost leaving the physical plane came as a major shock. I really don't care about your story. This blah, 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 blah. You're not giving me anything about. So I guess Itolan is basically, okay, that's what it is. So it's the creative power that materializes thoughts into beautiful, elegant living supplies without depleting the environment. Okay, that's good enough for me. That's all I need to know. I didn't need to know your whole fucking life story. Thanks. God. Fucking internets, man. Jesus. Just give me the fucking info. I don't want to hear your whole fucking, goddamn story, tripping on acid and waking up to fucking find the Nibiru's cock in your ass. I don't need to know all that. Thanks. So he molded and formed by the power of Itolan. Okay, so that's what he's talking about here. Basically, this is exactly right. He's talking about bringing things manifest using the spoken word. In the beginning, there was the word. Hello? Christians, you ever fucking maybe give a thought to what that really meant? No, because if you ever give a thought to what that means, that leads to the devil. That leads to the devil.
Shock Satan's cock. It leads to the devil's cock. That's what it leads to, motherfucker.
Jesus. Out of control. Let's try to continue here. Fucking Satan and rednecks just keep interrupting us all the time. Where did we leave off here? Know ye, O man, the harlot, the master, was never one with the children of men. Out of the ether he called the substance and molded it by the power of Itolan into the forms he built with his mind. Mile upon mile it covered the island. Space upon space it grew in its might. Black yet not black, but dark like the space of time. Deep in its heart the essence of light. Swiftly the temple grew into being, molded and shaped by the world of the dweller. Called from the formless into a form. Builded he then within it great chambers. Filled them with forms called forth from the ether. This sounds like, it's funny that he's making this sound like this is, okay, I read a news report from the Rockwall Success newspaper where two of these guys had went down into one of the subterranean chambers, I think underneath where the Rockwall, the old Rockwall courthouse is in downtown Rockwall. And there was this report where they found these two black marble pillars inside of this chamber that shone and shined like something from the Orient. Like black granite sparkling. And it's funny they reference that here. Black yet not black, but yet black by the dark of space time. It seems interesting in these different rooms that he built. Well, that's what the rock wall has found to have been. They found within the perimeter of the wall itself, they found room after room of different chambers and temple rooms and all of this stuff. It's all been covered up. And one of the pictures I saw of Quetzalcoatl, supposedly what Aslan was when Quetzalcoatl created, which was Aslan means Atlantis, was that same exact type of structure. And of course, Quetzalcoatl and Thoth are supposed to be the same person, as well as Hermes Trismegistus, the thrice-born Thoth, Hermes Trismegistus, and Quetzalcoatl. Now, again, Quetzalcoatl was master of two things, crystal working and metallurgy, alchemy. Well, two things have been found that relate to that with the rock wall. Number one, crystals, geopolymer crystals, 3 different types of crystals that don't exist around this area, brought together and made into a polymer that seals and holds the rocks of the wall together. Number two, an alloy wheel, a small alloy wheel that was made of copper, aluminum, tin, 4 or 5 different metals. I held it in my hand. was embedded into the wall. And I just, with that report, I remember reading that report of them seeing these black pillars. It just kind of, caught my attention there for a minute. I'll continue. But this is talking about, building this, and I don't know why. Flashes as he's talking about building this temple using, etherical energy in the ether to create. I don't know why. Just flashes of rock walls are coming in my head like this is connecting, this is connected to this. I always try to follow those, those little flashes when they come to you, because, believe me, man, I used to ignore them, but now 99% of the time they're right. Swiftly the temple grew into being, molded and shaped by the word of the dweller. Called from the formless into a form, builded he then within it great chambers. Filled them with forms called forth from the ether, filled them with wisdom called forth from his mind. Formless was he within its temple, yet he was formed in the image of men. Dwelling among them, yet not of them, strange and far different was he of the children of men. Chose he then from among the people 3 who became his gateway. So he chose 3 people to incarnate into. Choose he the 3 from the highest to become his links with Atlantis. Messengers, they who carried his counsel to the kings of the children of men. Brought he forth others and taught them wisdom. Teachers, they to the children of men. Placed he them on the island of Undal to stand as teachers of light to men. Each of those who were thus chosen taught must he be for years 5 and 10. Only thus could he have understanding to bring light to the children of men. Thus there came into being the temple, a dwelling place for the master of men. I, Thoth, have ever sought wisdom, searching in darkness and searching in light. Long in my youth, I traveled the pathway, seeking ever new knowledge to gain. Until after much striving, one of the 3 to me brought the light. Brought he to me the commands of the dweller, called me from the darkness into the light. Brought he me before the dweller, deep in the temple before the great fire. There on the great throne beheld I the dweller, clothed with light and flashing with fire. Down I knelt before that great wisdom, feeling the light flowing through me in waves. Sounds like he met the light bringer, doesn't it? What else could it be? Heard I then the voice of the dweller, O darkness, come into the light. Long have ye sought the pathway to light. Each soul on earth that loosens its fetters shall soon be made free from the bondage of night. Forth from the darkness have ye risen. Closer approach the light of your goal. Here ye shall dwell as one of my children, keeper of records gathered by wisdom, instrument through of the light from beyond. Ready by thou made to do what is needed. Preserver of wisdom through the ages of darkness that shall come fast on the children of men. Live thee here and drink of all wisdom. Secrets and mysteries unto thee shall unveil. Then answered I, the master of cycles, saying, O light that descended to men, give thou to me of thy wisdom, that I might be a teacher of men. Give thou of thy light, that I may be free. Spoke again then to me the master. Age after age shall ye live through your wisdom. I win o'er Atlantis, the ocean's wave roll, holding the light through hidden in darkness, ready to come whenever thou shalt call. I love how it talks about the Atlantis as being something that was not just exist one time. The way they talk about that and the reference that they reference that as there being multiple Atlantises. One of our listeners a couple weeks ago was referencing, that movie 2012 as being about the fall of Atlantis, a symbolic allegory for the fall of Atlantis, and tend to sort of agree with that. And that very well could be what they're talking about here because, well, I mean, John Dee, his whole Enochian magic system, Enochian language system, was based on these tablets. That's a fact. So, it does stand very well to reason. I mean, John Dee was telling, Sir Francis Bacon about America being the new Atlantis, all that whole deal. But right there, they reference, because this is supposed to be, this stuff that we're reading here is supposed to be after the fall of Atlantis anyway. So he's referencing Atlantis as being this thing where, it's something that periodically is built and then falls and then rebuilt again. And, it starts all over again. When over Atlantis, the ocean waves roll, holding the light, though hidden in darkness, ready to come whenever thou shalt call. Go thee now and learn greater wisdom. Go thou through light to infinity's all. Long then dwelt I in the temple of the dweller, until at last I was one with the light. Followed I then the path to the star plains. Followed I then the pathway to light. Deep into earth's heart I followed the pathway, learning the secrets below as above, learning the pathway to the halls of Amenti, learning the law that balances the world. To earth's hidden chambers pierced I by my wisdom, deep through the earth's crust into the pathway hidden for ages from the children of men. Unveiled before me ever more wisdom until I reached a new knowledge, found that all is part of an all, great and yet greater than all that we know. We had that in the news tonight, didn't we? Searched I infinity's heart through all the ages. Deeper and yet deeper more mysteries I found. Now, as I look back through the ages, know I that wisdom is boundless, ever grown greater throughout the ages, one with infinities greater than all. Light there was in ancient Atlantis, yet darkness too was hidden in all. Fell from the light into the darkness some who had risen to heights among men. Proud they became because of their knowledge. Proud were they of their place among men. Deep delved they into the forbidden, and opened the gateway that led to below. Sought they to gain ever more knowledge, but seeking to bring it up from below. He who descends below must have balance, else he is bound by lack of our light. Opened they then by their knowledge pathways forbidden to man. Built in his temple, all-seeing the dweller lay in his aguante, while through Atlantis his soul roamed free. Saw he the Atlanteans by their magic, opening the gateway that would bring to earth a great woe. There we are talking about opening this gateway, opening up a portal. Fast fled his soul then back to his body. Up he arose from his aguante. Called he the three mighty messengers. Gave the commands that shattered the world. Deep neath earth's crust to the halls of Amenti, swiftly descended the dweller. Called he then on the powers of the seven lords, wielded, and changed the earth's balance. Sounds like a pole shift. Down sank Atlantis beneath the dark waves, shattered the gateway that had been opened, shattered the doorway that led down below. All of the islands were shattered except Unal, and part of the island of the sons of the dweller. Preserved he them to be the teachers, lights on the path for those to come after, lights for the lesser children of men. Called he then I Toth before him, gave me commands for all I should do, saying, Take thou, O Toth, all of your wisdom. Take all of your records, take all of your magic, go thou forth as a teacher of men. Go thou forth, reserving the records until in time light grows among men. Light shall thou be all through the ages, hidden yet found by enlightened men. Over all earth give we ye power. Free thou to give it or to take it away. Gather thou now the sons of Atlantis. Take them and flee to the people of the rock caves. Fly to the land of the children of Chem. Then gathered I the sons of Atlantis. Into the spaceship I brought all my records. I brought the records of sunken Atlantis. Gathered I all of my powers and instruments, many of mighty magic. Up then we rose on wings of the morning. High we arose above the temple, leaving behind the three and dweller deep in the halls neath the temple, closing the pathway to the lords of the cycles. Yet ever to him who has knowing open shall be the path to Amenti. Fast fled we then on the wings of the morning, fled to the land of the children of Chem. There by my power I conquered and ruled them. Raised I to light the children of Chem. Deep neath their rocks I buried my spaceship, waiting the time when man might be free. Over the spaceship erected a marker in the form of a lion, yet unto a man. There, neath the image, rests yet my spaceship, forth to be brought when the need shall arise. So his spaceship is underneath the Sphinx. Well, that's great. I'm glad we know that now. Know ye, O man, that far in the future invaders shall come from out of the deep. Oh, really? Far in the future, invaders shall come from out of the deep. Then awake, ye who have wisdom. Bring forth my ship and conquer with ease. Deep neath the image lies my secret. Search and find in the pyramid I built. We will do that, sir. Each to the other is the keystone, each the gateway that leads into life. Follow the key I leave behind me. Seek, and the doorway to life shall be thine. Seek thou in my pyramid, deep in the passage that ends in a wall. Seek thou in my pyramid, deep in a passage that ends in a wall. That's that video I was telling you about. Seek it, and the doorway of life shall be thine. That was that video I told you guys about last week. You find that again. Yeah, Great Pyramid, a strange sacred door at the top half in the Queen's chamber. I saw that referenced last week in some of the tablets that we were reading from. And I'm going to drop it in the chat room again for you there. It's that green video. You have to watch it if you can't see. That's exactly what he's talking about there. Let me read that for you again. Know ye, O man, that far in the future invaders shall come from out of the deep. Then awake ye who have wisdom. Bring forth my ship and conquer with ease. Deep neath the image lies my secret. Search and find in the pyramid I built. Each to the other is the keystone, each the gateway that leads into life. Follow the key I leave behind me. Seek, and the doorway to life shall be thine. Seek thou in my pyramid, deep in the passage that ends in a wall. That, in that video, you will see that that's the passageway that ends in a wall. And they sent a robot in there with a camera. And you can see it. It's a star chart. That's what he's talking about here. It's there. And we're just ignoring it? I want to figure this out. I want to make all this happen. How do we do that? Anybody got any ideas? Use thou the key of the seven, and open to thee the pathway will fall. Now unto thee I have given my wisdom. Now unto thee I have given my way. Follow the pathway. Solve thou my secrets. Unto thee I have shown the way. So that's the end of tablet number 5. We'll pick up next time on the broadcast with tablet number 6, the Key of Magic. The Key of Magic. That should make for pretty interesting stuff. Wow. This one was amazing in and of itself, calling up material things into being by using frequencies and spaceships under the Sphinx and that hidden chamber. Wow. This stuff just staring us in the face, folks. And yet, many of our brothers and sisters out there are too distracted by, this fucking corporatized hot topic mall version of revolution. And meanwhile, the keys to the info that we seek are just sitting here right in front of us, and we just ignore them and worry about the bankers and worry about, whether or not we're going to be able to stay fat Americans and buy that new iPad next year. That's what this whole thing's about. These people don't give two shits about information or the real world or the power structure. They just want their people in it. I don't know, man. I see the whole Fabian socialist, Marxist, communist takeover that they tried to tell us was a control system being the main tenet that's been brought in by this priest class. And, we've gotten it in the biggest way it's ever been brought to America, but you can't say that or you're racist. You need to wake up. That's our show for tonight. I want to thank everybody for tuning in. TheGlobalReality.com is our website. Please make a donation to us this week. We only got like $50 in this week, and we need a little bit more in here to stay alive and stay afloat. So please donate if you can. TheGlobalReality.com is the website. My name is Josh Reeves. I love each and every one of you. We'll see you next time for the broadcast. You guys have a great one. Take care.